Today's daf we're going to be learning is Daf Kuf Yud. Today we're going to continue with the issue of all sorts of remedies for various things and whether or not we can do these on Shabbat. It'll be more a focus on remedies rather than on what's allowed and what's not allowed on Shabbat. Okay, before we start, the sponsorship for today's daf is sponsored by my parents, Robert and Paula Cohen, in memory of my grandfather, Chaim Avraham ben Alter Gershon HaKohen Zichrono Livracha. And one other thing I wanted to announce that Dr. Yardena Osband of Talking Talmud, that you can find featured on our site, is going to be giving a special Daf Yomi shiur called The Dose of the Daf on Sunday, June 28th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And it's a Zoom, so there's details. You can find it on Talking Talmud's Facebook and probably on there, any information you can find. If anyone needs details and wants to know, you can write to me and I'll give you the details. Okay, with that, we're going to get started. I'm just going to review the last story because I didn't do the details exactly right, and we'll get started with that. And anyway, that's going to start us on our topic for today. There's a sheet for today, so here, I'll just stick it. Okay. So we're going to get started. The sheet today is a little bit different. What I did was I used the sheet to kind of organize what's in the daf, not the back and forth, but kind of what are the topics. I thought it was a good way because sometimes in these dafim you can get lost in the whole flow and there's a lot of different things going on. It's not exactly the typical flow of a Gemara in terms of the back and forth of the arguments, but I thought I would give you a general look at what did we go through today, because you could read all these things and go on and on and on and then be lost by the end. What did we deal with today? So this kind of organized it. I'll try to also organize it in class. The first topic for today is going to be snakes. So that's what we'll go back to the previous story. I'll tell you the details exactly more accurately than I did yesterday. And then we're going to move on to all sorts of other issues related to snakes. So the first issue is, which you wouldn't have thought of, the first question is, what if I swallow a snake? What do I do? Okay, it's not the most typical thing to swallow a snake, although maybe they had different snakes in those days, and maybe what they're calling snakes is something much smaller. Anyway, we'll talk about this right now, what you do. So, it's you're supposed to, if you swallow a snake, you're supposed to eat the hops and then in salt and then run for 3 meal, which is a decent amount of running, and then it should come out of you. And then we had these two stories, and this is two versions of the same story. Rav Shimi bar Ashi chazilahu gabra, he saw someone who swallowed a snake, the bala chivya. Id Meleke Parasha, so he appeared, this is where I got the details wrong a little bit, but Rav Shimi bar Ashi appears to him as a horseman. Okay, now the question is, why did he have to do that? Well, the assumption is that a horseman is a person of authority. He looks serious, he looks like a soldier. So he would have to listen to him, and maybe he thought, first of all, if you swallow a snake, you might be going crazy and not really listen to anybody, but he wanted to sound authoritative. So he appeared to him as a horseman, and then Ochle, he told him to eat, and then he made him run 3 meal, and then it came out, right? And then we have it came out in pieces. And then we have the exact same story, which I won't read again every detail inside, but instead of it being Rav Shimi bar Ashi who appeared as the horseman, he was the one who swallowed it, and it was Eliyahu who appeared as a horseman and told him what to do. What's the difference between these two versions, and why would we tell this story like this? So I thought that maybe there's this issue of, was it something miraculous, like Eliyahu Hanavi appears? Or was the appearing as a horseman not something of a miraculous nature? It was just that Rav Shimi bar Ashi said, this is the best way I'm actually going to get him to listen, and therefore he dressed himself up as a horseman, not that he magically turned into a horseman, and that's what the idea going on here is. And again, maybe was this solution something that came in a miraculous kind of manner, or was it something that was just a good advice, and everybody, people knew what to do. Rav Shimi bar Ashi was knowledgeable in this way, and therefore gave him some advice. Why do you have to dress up as a horseman? I thought maybe this is interesting in terms of, we keep saying, well, the rabbis were the experts on medicine, it seems, or at least so it seems, right? They're telling you all the solutions. Maybe not everybody thought the rabbis were experts, and maybe he didn't want to believe Rav Shimi bar Ashi. But if he appeared as a horseman, then he would believe him, and then maybe he would take his solution. So it could be that maybe this is an indication that not everybody believed the rabbis, versus the Eliyahu story, which just says, well, it was Eliyahu, and that resolves it. Okay. Anyway, or then also Eliyahu appears as a horseman because that was the person that had the most authority. Now we're going to move on to another story about someone who was bitten by a snake. Oh, now we're going to move into snake bites. Rather than eating a snake, now we're going to go to snake bites. We're starting 2 lines from the bottom. Haiman de tarke chivya. Lete ubara. So if you get bitten by a snake, what do? We would have thought that would be number one. What do? Lete ubra de chamra. You take a fetus of chamra chivarta, of a white donkey. Here, by the way, I thought there was a bit of a play on chivya is the word for donkey, and chivarta is white. It sounds very similar, and maybe that's why, the counterpart to the white, the sounding like white of the snake, the chivya is the chivarta. So you take a fetus of a white donkey, the likare, and you tear it out. This is similar. We were just talking about, you can't do this on Shabbat to be oker davar migidulot, to pull out a fetus. Anyway, this is what you do. You tear out the fetus, velot ve'ilave, and you put it on the bite. But this is only delo ishtakach treifa, if the mother's not a treifa, but if the chamora, the donkey that you get it from, is a treifa, meaning she's not healthy, then it's not going to work. Hahu bar kasha, there was a person who was the sar, the kind of like the governor of Pumbedita, who was a Jewish governor put in by the Babylonians. Titarke chivya, was bitten by a snake. There were 13 of these white donkeys in Pumbedita. Kar'inu lekulu, they opened them all up. The ishtakhu treifa, and they found all of them to be treifot. So nothing was going to work to help this person. But then they found one, Bahu Gisa de Pumbedita, on the other side of Pumbedita. But until they brought the snake over, the donkey over, Achla Aryeh, it got eaten by a lion. And basically they couldn't use it. Okay, so basically they couldn't help this person. Why are they telling us this story? Maybe this was done by the hands of God. Maybe it was what we call the rabbi snake that bit him. What does it mean, the rabbi snake that bit him? Okay, so first he's going to say maybe it was the rabbi snake that bit him, and the rabbi snake that bites, there's no cure. Okay, why do we say this? What's the rabbi snake? It might be a famous pasuk that you know. It's very commonly used. It's a pasuk from Kohelet, and it's basically the way of the rabbi saying, don't go against what we say, because if the rabbis always put up fences, and if you knock down that fence, right, and obviously it's not talking about the rabbis, in the pshat of that pasuk, it's just saying if you tear down a fence, you might get bitten by a snake, watch out for what you do, don't go places you're not supposed to be going. But here it's basically saying if you knock down the boundaries that the rabbis put up, you're going to be bitten by a snake. I thought maybe this is connected with the Baitusim that we saw the other day, who believed only in the Torah Shebechtav and not in the rabbis. And maybe this was a way of the rabbis strengthening their position against all the different sects that weren't so strong, didn't really believe in the rabbis' traditions. So now he says, maybe this person went against the rabbis. Now we're going to understand what it means. They were bitten by the rabbi's snake, not literally. The rabbis had a snake they let out when people didn't do what they wanted. But it's basically by the hands of God. God sent the snake because he had gone against the rabbis. So Abaye suggests this. Amrulay in Rebbe. They say to him, you're right, Rebbe. Abaye, you're right. How? Why? Okay, again, we're going to reference something we saw recently. If you remember, we talked about when Rav came to Bavel, right? And we had that big story, right? Rav was a big rabbi. And when he died, they wanted, and this goes back to something we also learned a few days ago, which is about the importance of eulogizing and sitting in Avilut for a rabbi, and particularly a very important rabbi like Rav, who was the first Amoraim and established really the Torah in Bavel and moved the whole center of Torah, moved from Israel to Bavel in his time, basically because of him. When he died, Gaza Rav Yitzchak Bar Bisneta Leka Delimtie Asa V'Gidmei Lebei Hilula B'Tavla. They decreed as a form of mourning for Rav for the first year, no one was allowed to bring. They would bring these myrtle branches and palm branches to weddings with pamonim, with bells. And they said, you're not allowed to do that. And lo and behold, what did this person do? And he did this. So they're basically saying, Tarka chivya umet. And he therefore was bitten by a snake and died from a snake bite because he didn't listen to the rabbis. Now this is interesting because if you think about a poretz geder, normally we're talking about there's some Torah prohibition, and the rabbis say, well, not only that, don't do this, right, to make a fence literally around the Torah. This is a little bit different. This is something that they said, well, we should really have extra mourning practices for Rav, and therefore we did this. But again, it could be they took this very seriously because, again, it's an issue of the more people show respect for the rabbis, the more people will keep the traditions, right? It's all about the tradition and keeping the tradition strong and against those who didn't believe in those traditions. I don't know if those sects were still popular. They were more in the time of the Mishnah. So I'm not sure if it was necessarily against all these sects. But again, it was really, whether you say it was against them or wasn't against them, it's also just the rabbis are always, always, always trying to establish their authority as central, whether it be their own personal versus a different rabbi or just in terms of establishing themselves in general. So there you have a story kind of as a scare tactic. Okay, so we started with you swallow a snake. I'm going to just keep going back so we don't get lost in the flow here. You swallow a snake. Now we have you got bitten by a snake. And the third is a snake encircles you and you're stuck. The snake is around you. So linchot lemaya, go into the water. I was thinking when you get your ring stuck and you can't get your ring out, so they say put it underwater. I think it's the same idea here, that it'll loosen up in the water. So you go into the water, v'lischov dikula aresha, and put a basket on its head, v'lahad kemine, and kind of get him off of you, and then he'll be in this basket. V'chisalik ilave, lishye lemaya, v'lislik v'lete. So as soon as he gets off of you, throw him in the water and run for your life, okay? Get out of the water and get out of there as quickly as possible. I think the assumption is the water will slow down the snake and he won't be able to catch you. Next, now we have a snake is pursuing you, running after you. So what do? If you have a friend nearby, the assumption is that the snake is specifically pursuing you and not somebody else. So go ride on this person, basically jump on their back, piggyback on them, and walk 4 cubits. And then, according to Rashi, you won't anymore have footprints that he'll be able to sniff and know where you are. You'll already move. This is our 4 cubits, right? Always, that's the space of a person. You move out of your space, your 4 cubits, and then he won't be able to find you because he won't be able to see your footprints. You'll be on someone's shoulders. Right? The idea here being, and we'll see this continually in this next little section, is that the higher you are, right? The snake is on the ground. This, by the way, some of the things we're going to see today are not exactly logical. This is very logical, okay? Because what are you trying to do? The snake is on the ground. You want to get as far off the ground as possible, right? When there's danger in a particular place, so you figure out how can I avoid this danger as best as possible. Ve'ilo, if you can't get on your friend's back, then lishar nagra, jump over a ditch, because also the assumption is the snake can't go in a ditch. Vilo li'avar nahara, try to cross a river. He also can't get across a river. Ubelel, at night when you go to sleep, lotve apulia arba chavite, go on 4 barrels. Okay, make your bed on 4 barrels, again, as high as you can. Benigne be kochave, and sleep out under the stars. Why under the stars? Well, you don't want anything above you, because if something's above you, again, this is just be smart about it, the nachash can somehow slither up to there and then jump on you. But if he's on the ground and you're, high up above the ground and there's nothing above you where he could jump from, then he won't be able to get you. The lete arba shunre. Now, take 4 cats. Here's another good advice. The lislinu ba'arba'a kar'e depulia. Tie them to the 4 corners of your bed. The lete shachve v'lishte hatam. Take branches and twigs and put them around where the cats are. What's going to happen as the snake slithers over? He'll have to go over the twigs and the branches, and the cat will hear the noise, and the cat will eat the snake. So again, just be smart. Try to put a trap. This is basically a trap. We're using kind of a live animal to trap them and catch the snake. Okay, so that's the snake chasing you. Now we're going to get to something quite strange, okay? This is snake pursuing a woman to have relations with her, sexual relations with her, okay? Maybe this is based on some mythology. If you notice, I don't know if you know this, but the whole idea of Chava and the snake and Gan Eden was also this issue of some people thought that he was seducing her sexually. There's midrashim about this. This must come from some tradition or some concept that existed about snakes pursuing women. So anyway, we're going to have, what do you do if this happens to you? Someone said I skipped a line, running in the sand. You're right. I skipped 1 line here. Okay, so before we get to the woman, if someone runs after you, lirhat bechalta, you should run into sand dunes. Okay, just like the ditch and the river, this is another solution. Sand dunes, the the snakes can't really go on sand dunes. It's very hard for them to slither through. Okay, someone pointed out also snakes were a phallic, right? Freud thought snakes were a phallic symbol. That could also be connected to this. So this woman now sees a snake coming after her. She doesn't know, is the snake actually coming to pursue her, to have sexual relations with her or not? So here's her way of figuring it out. Tishlach mane, I don't know why she wouldn't just run away, but maybe the snake is going to get her. So basically, what does she do? She takes her clothing, vinishtia come in, she throws it on him, okay, or in front of him. So she throws her clothes, okay, I assume she doesn't strip naked, right? She must just take off an outer cloak, throw it to the snake. If the snake wraps himself in her clothing, that's a sign that he's pursuing her. But if not, then she's fine. She doesn't have to worry. My takanta, what does she do if the snake is pursuing her? This is not, the snake has actually done anything, but to avoid the snake pursuing her. So the first suggestion is tishamesh kameh. This is obviously only going to work for a married woman. She should have sexual relations with her husband in front of the snake. Okay, that will basically show the snake who's in charge and that he's got no chance. And then the snake will leave. Well, ikad amri, some people say that's a terrible idea. Kol shekain to yitzrei. That's only going to cause the snake to want to pursue her even more. Ella. So here's a different solution. Tish kol mi mamze umitorfe. She should take from her hair and her nails. V'tish tebe, and she should throw it at him. This, by the way, references the eshet yafat toar. If you remember, a man goes to war and sees some beautiful woman, he's supposed to let her hair grow long and her nails grow long, or some people say short. There's a debate about what exactly it is. And anyway, the maze and torfe come up there. And she should basically throw these at the snake. Vitema dishtana ana. And she should say, I'm menstruating right now. So, you really don't bother. Hi, okay, that's her way of dealing with if the snake is pursuing. But what if it's too late? What if the snake already went inside her body? And now she has the snake there and she wants to get the snake out, right? Before we saw someone who swallowed a snake, now we have the snake basically went into her. So what should she do? She should spread her legs and sit on two barrels. She should take fatty meat, or people should take fatty meat. And put it on coals, right? Start cooking it up. A basket full of cress. And savory wine, a wine that has a good smell to it. Velotvu hatam, and she should put them down on the floor near where she is. Velitrakinu bahade adadi, mix them together. Velinkot savta biyad, and she should have tongs in her hand. Dechimerach recha, the idea is that this will raise up it will cause a smell to go, the smell. Nafik va'ate, and then what will happen? The snake will come out of her body it will be enticed by the smell. By the way, this makes some of the details sound very weird, but it makes a lot of sense because what's the idea, right? Anytime you have some issue, let's say even just you're upset about something, what's the best thing to do? Distract yourself with something else, right? Or your kid's crying about something, right? Try to distract them with something else and they'll stop crying. So here, the snake is inside her. Try to distract the snake with something else. Now, it's not going to solve the problem, just like distracting your mind from your problems it's not going to solve your problem. It's not going to distract you forever. It's just very momentary. But once you get the snake out, then grab him with your tongs. That's why she has the tongs in her hand, and throw him into the fire. Remember, there was the meat burning on the fire. Throw him into the fire. Because if not, it's going to go right back in. Okay, strange stories, strange suggestions, but this is what the Gemara is telling us about. Kola ochalin. Now we're getting back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said anything that's food you're allowed to eat for medicinal purposes, unless, right, actually any food you're allowed to eat, and any drinks you're allowed to drink, except for there were certain drinks you're not allowed to drink, which was the Meid Kalim and the Mei Kalim. We're going to get back to those two very shortly. Right now, we're going to talk about why does it say all ochalin? All always seems to include something additional. Kol ochalin latuye mai, latuye tchol lashinayim. Spleen, which is good for people's teeth. V'karshinin lebnei me'ayim, and vetch for stomach problems. Those are things you're allowed to eat. even though I assume they're giving examples of things that likely people didn't generally eat, but still you're allowed to eat them on Shabbat. Again, we're back to Shabbat issues, right? The snake was all just, what do you do if this happens to you? It's not connected really to Shabbat, but now we're back to Shabbat. Kol mashkin la tu yemai. What is that coming to include? Meit slafim bechometz. You take water from capers that you put in vinegar. Again, you're allowed to drink that. Amale Ravina l'Rava. Ravina now says to Rava, ma'u lishtot mei raglayim b'Shabbat. Can you drink urine on Shabbat? If you remember, we learned about urine, that they used it as a cleanser. Okay, now we're going to say, can you drink it on Shabbat? Apparently, people also used it for medicinal purposes. Amarle, Tanina, kol mashkim shoteh umei raglayim lo shatu inashe. That's not something anybody ever drinks. So that doesn't count. That's not one of the things mentioned in the Mishnah, and therefore you can't drink that. Even though it wasn't listed as an exception, the Mishnah was only talking about things that people normally drink, and nobody drinks urine, and therefore, if you were to drink it for medicinal purposes, that would be forbidden on Shabbat. Again, remember our rules. If it's only medicine, then it's clear you're doing it for medicinal purposes, in which case you're not allowed to do it. However, if it's not for medicinal purposes, people would sometimes drink it otherwise, then it's not clear you're doing it for those reasons, and then you can do it even if you're using it as medicine. Chutz mimei dekalim. So now we're going to see this mei dekalim. Some people had different opinions what it was. There was even a different version, whether it was dekalim or dikarim. Tana, there's a bright that says chutz mimei dikarim. There's a big debate about this, whether we mean the same thing, we're just calling it something different, or maybe mei dikarim is something different entirely. It's not clear from the Gemara. Because the Gemara just describes why it's called mei dikarim, but they don't exactly describe what it is. Man Tana mei dikarim. Who's the Tana who says it? In other words, what's he basing this on? Shehem dokrim et hamara. They pierce a hole in your gallbladder. Okay, so therefore, that's why they call it mei dikarim. Obviously, it's good for certain things. This is like medicine, right? There's side effects. So they call it mei dikarim because it causes problems to your gallbladder, even though it might resolve some other problem. Umanda Amar mei dekalim, the one who says it's mei dekalim, why do they call it mei dekalim? It's not actually water that comes from a palm tree. So what is it? Sheyotzim min shnei dekale, right? It comes out of 2 palm trees. Man mei dekalim, who is this? And where do we know about this? Amar Rabba Barbruna, tarte tlai ika b'marava. In Israel, there were these 2 palm trees. V'nafka ena demayim mibenayu, and there was a stream that came out between the 2. Kasakama merape, the first cup softens. Okay, this is dealing with problems with stomach problems. We're assuming we're talking about constipation. So the first one softens it. Idach mishalshal. The second one causes, it's a diuretic. V'idach, and the third, you're already cured by that point. After you drink the 3rd cup, then already whatever goes in comes out clear and you're good. Amar Ula, lididi shatre shichra de bavlai uma ale minayu. I drank the Bavli's beer, and it actually helped me. Okay, that was another solution. You don't need to have this mei dekalim, which potentially could be mei dekarim and cause you other problems, right? They're giving solutions to other things that you can use. Behu de lo ragil be arba'in yomin. This is classic for antibiotics. They say don't take antibiotics too often, or don't use Advil too often, it'll stop being effective. So here they say, right, if you have drunk it within the last 40 days, it actually won't be effective. So make sure it's beer that you haven't drunk in 40 days, and then it will actually be effective. Rabbi Yosef Amar, Zeitom HaMitzri. Okay, now we're talking about a certain type of beer, the Egyptian beer, which was made, we're going to have a debate about how it was made. Tilta Sare, Tilta Kortame, the Tilta Milcha, a 3rd barley, a 3rd saffron, and a 3rd salt. Rav Papa Amar, Tilta Chite, the Tilta Kortame, the Tilta Milcha. He substitutes wheat for the barley. Simanech, and how do you know? How do you know what's right? Sisane. How do you remember who said what? Sisane. Rabbi Yosef is with a samach, and Seorim is with a sin, even though it's not the same letter. It has the same sound. So Sisane is a word to help you remember that Rav Yosef, it has 2 samachs in it. Rav Yosef says the one about the Seorim. V'shate lehu ben dav chalatzarta. You're supposed to drink it between Pesach and Shavuot. I don't know what you do if your problems aren't that time of year. But dekamik mirapele, now here's the all universal medicine for any kind of stomach issues. If you're constipated, then it will, dekamik, if you're closed, then it will mirapela, will soften it. Derafe, if you have too much If it's too soft, then kametle, it'll harden. Because, and it'll basically solve either issue. Because ikarim. Now we're getting back to this kos ikarim. This kos ikarim is going to raise some issues. Why is it called a kos ikarim? Because it could cause one to become sterile. Because of that, we're going to see at the very end of the daf, we'll start a sugya that we'll only finish tomorrow, which is how can you possibly drink something that's going to cause you to become sterile? Isn't that forbidden? So we'll get to that. But first, they want to know what it is. Kosi kalim, just like we want to know what maids kalim are. These are the two, remember, these are the two exceptions to the rule in the Mishnah that even though you can drink any drink you want, if it's normally drunk, these two are not allowed on Shabbat because they're mainly used for medicine. So what is kosi kalim? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, leite mitkal zuza koma Alexandria. Take a zuz's worth of weight, okay, the weight of a zuz, which is a coin, of the sap from an Alexandrian gum or something. It's some sort of sap from a tree. Alexandria was in Egypt, so it probably is from some sort of Egyptian tree. Umitkal zuza gabia gila. Take another zuz worth of alum. Umitkal zuza korkama rishka. Take another zuz worth of saffron that was garden grown saffron. You grind the three of these up together. Now, there's two tracks we're going to talk about right now. One is this is good for a zava, someone who's bleeding, extra bleeding after her period's already supposed to end, or when it's not the time of her period. She is bleeding for a number of days. So for a zava, what you do is tlata b'chamra, you take all three of these, you mix them in wine, velomi akra, and it happens not to create, it doesn't make her barren. Liyurokda, but if you have sahevet, if you have jaundice, train b'shichra umeakra. You take two of these and you put it in beer. Sorry, I keep calling it dates because it's date beer. You put it in beer, and then again you grind them, put them in beer umeakra, and it actually causes problems. Okay, this will cause you to become sterile. So yes, it will cure your jaundice, but it will cause you to be sterile. Now we're going to get into a long tangent on, well, if you're a zava, so we already said you use this, you take these three, you grind them up, put them in wine, and drink it, and that will cure you. But what if you don't have it, or what if it doesn't work? We're going to have a long, long list of things the zava can do. Then we're going to have a long, long list of things that you can do if you're jaundiced and that doesn't work. So that's where we're going to go right now, and only at the very end of the next Amud are we going to get to how are you even allowed to do this if it causes you to be sterile for the jaundice case. So v'ilo. So now l'zava tlata b'chamra v'lo miyakra. V'ilo, if that doesn't work, laite tlata kapize shamche parsai. Take 3 baskets of Persian onions. V'nishloch b'chamra. Cook them up in wine. V'nishkie, and drink it. Have her drink it. B'nei mala, and here we're going to have, in almost all the cases, maybe even all of them with the zava, we're going to have somebody saying the words kum mizavech. Okay, stop bleeding. Okay, we talked about this before. We saw in other sugyas that were similar to this, where saying some sort of incantation also helped. V'ilo, if that doesn't work. Lotve, again, I think it's either if that doesn't work, or if you don't have the option to do that. Let's say you don't have Persian onions. So, remember, they lived among Persians, so it probably wasn't so uncommon to have them. V'ilo, lotva parshat drachim. You should put her by crossroads. V'linkete kasa dechamra. She should take a cup of wine, biyada, in her hand. V'leite inish me'achora. Someone should come from behind her. V'livate, right? It sounds like when you have the hiccups. They say you should scare the person, right? So someone should come behind to scare her. V'leimale kumizovech, and say, get up from your zava, bleeding, and that should work. V'ilo, if not, leite bona de kmuna, ubona de molika. Take a fistful of saffron and a fistful of cumin and a fistful of saffron, ubona de shablulita, and a fistful of fenugreek. V'nishlok b'chamra, cook it up in wine. You're going to notice that all these are connected with wine, whereas we're going to see with the jaundice, it's all going to be connected with beer. V'nishke, have her drink this. V'neimale kumizovech, and again say, get up from your zava. Again, I told you about the snake part. There was at least some logic to it. This is very hard to understand the logic of what's going on here. V'ilo, if not, leite shitin shie dedana, barrel seals. Okay, apparently I read somewhere the idea was to take the seals and soak them in water, v'lishvie, and then rub it on her body. So once they soften, rub it on her body. And tell her to get up from being a zava. V'lo, if that doesn't work, leite pashtina, v'lishlok b'chamra. It's some sort of grass or some vegetation, something growing, and cook it up in wine. V'lishvie, and rub it on her body. V'nemale kumisovech, and say get up from being a zava. V'lo, if that doesn't work, leite chargona dehigita romita. You take thistles from a thistle bush, a Roman thistle bush, and basically cook it up, take the ashes from there, and the ashes, what should you do with them? It depends whether it's winter or summer. Wrap them in a cloth made of linen, rags of linen, actually. Rags, not a cloth, but a rag. Shachke is it's mushchak, it's rags, it's all worn away. So either cotton in the winter or in the summer, take flax, linen, and v'ilo, okay, and if that doesn't work, so basically take those ashes of the stuff that you took from the thistle bush, and then you burn it, you take the ashes and you wrap it in this cloth, and that should do it. V'ilo, if not, lichre sheva bire, you dig 7 wells. Beliklu behu shabishta yalda de orla. You take grass, young grape shoots. Sorry, not grass, young grape shoots that are orla, that are within the first 3 years. Belinkate kas, and what do? You burn them, you roast them inside each of the pits. So each of the pits now have ashes in the bottom from these young grape shoots. Then, linkate kasa de chamra biyada. Take a cup of wine. She should take a cup of wine in her hand. And she should go from pit to pit. And in each one that she goes into, people should say, get up from being a zava. Okay, this is the number 7, which we know to be a special number, a magical number. So do it in each of the 7 pits, and that should resolve it. Below, if that doesn't work, lete smida, take fine flour, solet. Veliska mipalga litatai, and you should rub it on her body from on the bottom part of her body, which is where she's bleeding from. And say, get up from being a zava. Below, if that doesn't work, lete biata dina amita, take an ostrich egg. Bilikle, roast it. The list, again, burn it up, burn the egg until you have ashes. Take the ashes. Again, in the winter, wrap it in cotton, and in the summer, wrap it in linen, in these rags. And if that doesn't work, open a barrel of wine just for her. Right? If not, okay, now here's a pretty disgusting one. She should hold seora, a barley grain, that you find in the dung of a white mule. Okay, I saw sometimes they say donkey, but some other places say mule. Okay, you basically take, if you know, right, in the dung, there's sometimes pieces of things. So take a barley that you find in the dung. She should hold it in her hand. Now, this is interesting. If you know the laws of Zava, before we go on, I'll just tell you, basic laws of Zava are, we're talking about a woman who's bleeding either beyond the 7 days of menstruation or when it's not the time that she's expected to get her period. In that situation, there's 2 different types of Zava. There's Zava Gdola and Zava Ktana. Zava Gdola is someone who bleeds for 7 days as a Zava. Then she has to wait 7 clean days. That's a serious thing. And she brings a sacrifice. If it's 1 or 2 days, then she just waits out the next day to see if she bleeds. If she stops bleeding, then she goes into the mikvah already and she becomes pure. So there's either 1 day bleeding, 2 day bleeding, or 3 day bleeding. Now, why am I telling you this? Because it's interesting if you see the way this solution, and this is actually the last solution, and it's interesting that they end with this one because it's very reminiscent of the 1, 2, or 3 days that she can possibly bleed. If you hold this piece of barley that you took out of the dung of the mule for 1 day, paska tre yome, then she'll stop bleeding for 2 days. Inafta tre yome, if she holds it for 2 days, right? It sounds like if she's a zava for 1 day, right? It's not, but it's got the same 1, 2, or 3 options. She holds it for 2 days, paska tlata yoma, then it will actually protect her from bleeding for 3 days. But if you want a real solution, then she should hold it inakta tzlata yome paska laolam. If she holds it for 3 days, then she will stop forever. I didn't ask questions, you're supposed to hold it in your hand. What if it drops when you're sleeping? I don't know exactly what they mean by holding it for 3 days. She need to be holding it all 3 days. But they basically say this is a solution. Again, this sounds quite strange, hard to really understand. Again, I think that some of these things, and I'll prove it from a story later on, that it seems that these are things that were beliefs in general in the places where they were living. These aren't Jewish, particularly, solutions necessarily. Not clear, but maybe they're not, and they're just home remedies that people used in those days. And again, I go back to what I said earlier, in case you didn't hear the other shiurim, but about that people say you should not be using these today. In fact, Shuli Mishkin wrote a good article that's on the Hadron site. So she's going to have a weekly column now called Flashback about what it was like in their days. And she writes about the medicine in those days. So you can read the article. Anyway, let's move on. But with that, you're not supposed to try these at home, thankfully. Okay, liyirokna. Okay, what about if you have jaundice? So train b'shikra. Okay, I see someone pointed out, thank you, Ruth, that beer is more yellow and wine is more red. So it could be also the idea that it's to cure jaundice. It's yellowish, I guess, more yellow in color. So liyirokna for jaundice, train b'shikra. Take 2 of those items that we saw. Remember what they were. They were, let's just review. It was the sap from the Alexandria tree, the alum, and the Korkum Rishka, the saffron that was garden grown. Someone asked, is it the same as today's saffron? And I assume yes, because saffron nowadays also, it's known to be very healthy, very good for you. I think it's the same that they were talking about then. So now, what do you do if you have Yerokna? So take 2 b'shichra u'miyaker. V'lo, and again, we're going to have our long list. What if that doesn't work? Leite resha d'shibut hamilcha, take the head of a salted fish. V'lishlok b'shichra, cook it up in the beer. V'lishte, and drink it. V'lo, if that doesn't work, leite monina de kamse, the brine of a grasshopper. V'i le kamunina de kamse, if you don't have the brine of a grasshopper, leite monina de nekire, take from a small bird. The brine, v'li aile lebe bane, go into a bathhouse. Why a bathhouse? Because it's hot in the bathhouse, right? A sauna. V'lishvie, rub it on your body, and then you'll kind of steam it out, okay? And it'll take down your sickness. It'll get everything out of your body. V'leika bebane, if you don't have a bathhouse, what do? Lukma bein tanura leguda. Okay, you should place yourself between an oven and the wall, because that's the hottest spot. That's where you'll be able to sweat it out. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, if you want to get this heat in some other way, you should have someone wrap you in their sheet. Rav Acha bar Yosef Chashba, he had this problem of jaundice. Rav Kahana v'itase, he made him this sheet and he was cured. V'ilo, if that doesn't work, leite tzlata kapize, take 3, by the way, 3 is the other number we see all the time. Take 3 vessels of, or baskets of tamare parsiata. Again, you have the Persian dates. V'tzlata kapize de kira de nishtarufe, and 3 baskets of wax, that's dripped wax. V'tzlata kapize ala tolana, and 3 baskets full of red aloe, right, like tolat shani. V'lishkalinu b'shichra v'lishte, and cook them up in the beer and drink it. V'lo, if that doesn't work, leite ila bar chamra, take a donkey foal. V'liglach mitziata deresha, shave off the middle of its head. V'lishvek le'dama me'apote, take blood from its forehead where you shaved it. V'lotve areshe, and put it on your head, and that should help it. V'lizahar me'ene, but be very careful of side effects here. Don't get it anywhere near your eyes. Delo lismelahu, it will blind you. V'ilo, right? They're trying to tell you all the details of how to be careful. Right, it's like I said this once before. It's like reading the medicine and the details. Watch out for this and make sure of this, that. V'ilo leite daval acher chutrana. Take something that's spotted like a leopard. V'likre, not a leopard itself. I'm saying spotted like a leopard. V'likre v'lotve alibe, and tear it and put it on your heart. V'ilo, if not, leite karte mikavtutita de mishre. Take leeks from the middle row of the garden. Okay, and now we're going to see a story about it. So I told you that we're going to see here we have a non-Jewish person who We have an Hahutaya, which is an Arab that's living in that area. So Dechashbe, he had a problem with jaundice. Amar le leginai, so he said to the person working the fields, he said, oh, I forgot to say, right, the ram, by the way, was to pickle it. Did I skip that? I think I forgot that line. Anyway, you're supposed to take a pickled ram's head also and cook it up and drink it. In case I skipped that one. Okay, anyway, next. So we have this case of this Arab who had this problem. Amar le legina, he said to the person working in the garden or the owned it, Shkol glimai v'havli mishra dekarte. Take my cloak and in exchange, please give me, I want that row of leeks, that middle row of leeks to cure me. So here you see that it was a general, it wasn't just a Jewish thing. What happened? So Yahiv le'va'achle, he gave it to him, he ate it. Amar le, then the Arab comes to him and says, Oshlan glimeh, can I borrow your cloak that I now gave you? V'igne be'kale, I want to just sleep with it a little bit because I'm freezing from being sick. Ikrach gana be, so he wrapped it, he gave it to him, he lent it to him, he slept with it. What happened? Kad icham v'kam nafil porta porta mine. What happened? His body heated up from the fever breaking. And what happened to the cloak? Well, his body heated up so much that the cloak fell apart and it came out in pieces. This reminds us where we started with the snake, and the snake came out in pieces when he ran. So here, pieces and pieces came off, and basically either he tricked the ganan, right? It was a way of kind of getting, he didn't really, in the end, give him anything, and he was healed, or maybe he just didn't realize, and it's just showing how much this is actually effective, that it actually burned through the cloak. Okay, last part for today. So again, for tzahevet, for jaundice, you should take 2 of these with beer, and it causes you to be sterile. Umishare, is this allowed? Vahatanya, doesn't it say in a Braita? It's forbidden to cause yourself to become sterile. Talmuloma, how do we know this? Because it says in the pasuk, this is just a quote from the Braita, Ba'artechem lo ta'asu. This is talking about sterilizing animals. But it says, it could say just ba'aretz lo ta'asu. We know what land you're talking about. What land are they always talking about in the Torah? So why does it say ba'artechem in your land? It's to teach you not only is it forbidden for the animals, but ba'chem lo ta'asu. You can't do it for yourself, for humans either. Divrei Rabbi Chanina. So how can you do this? Well, the Gemara is going to answer apropos for Shabbat. Again, we're not talking about Shabbat here. We're talking about just in general, taking this medication. All this stuff, the kosi charin, if you remember, you can't drink it on Shabbat. You obviously can't make it on Shabbat, and you can't drink it on Shabbat. So what did we say here? It's when you're intending to do seirus, then it's forbidden. But if you're doing it here, it's me'atzmahu. In other words, you drink this for your own cure. It's what our classic davar she'ino mitkavein. You're not intending to do it. Now, you might say it's a psik resha, so hold up on that. We're going to have to question that. We'll get to that when we finish the sugya. We'll go back to that and say, why is this not a problem? Because isn't it definitely going to happen? But anyway, they say this happens on its own. It's not why you drank it. You didn't drink it to become sterile. Ta'amar Rabbi Yochanan, harotzeshis, and here he's going to bring proof that if you're not mitkavein, it's okay. Harotzeshis sares tarnagol, if you want to castrate your tarnagol, your rooster, this is what you do. Yitol karbalato umistares me'alat. You take his carbolet, I forgot what it's called, but the red thing at the top of his head, and he will become sterile. So there's your proof. Now, what do they say? What's the problem? It doesn't actually sterilize him. What's the issue? A rooster is very proud of his carbolet. So if you take it off, he's going to be all of a sudden low in the lows, feeling down in the dumps, and he's just not going to mate with anybody. It's true, it will cause him to be sterile, but not because anything really happens to him. It's just that because he's so arrogant and that, and then he loses his arrogance, that's why. So what do they answer? Elabasaris. Maybe it's talking about the only time you can actually drink this. We basically proved Davar Mitzkaven doesn't work in this case. So they answer, well, it must be someone who's already a misolas. He's already castrated, and therefore you don't have to worry about it because it already is. Tomorrow we're going to question maybe that's even a problem in and of itself. We'll get, that even to do serus to someone who's already a saris maybe is also a problem. We'll get back to this tomorrow. We'll pick up with this tomorrow just as a preview. We're going to finish up with these topics, and then we're going to finish the parak and start a new parak about tying knots. Okay, so with that, we'll finish for today. Everybody have a great day.